We tend to think of roads as, well, pretty permanent things on a map, right? But what if I told you that even a simple stretch of pavement can have this whole dramatic story of losing its status and then, believe it or not, fighting to get it back? Today, we're going to dig into the really strange tale of Virginia State Route 70.
Okay, so let's just start with the central question here, because it sounds almost ridiculous. Can a state highway actually get demoted? Like, can it be stripped of its rank and just pushed down into a lower class of road? It sounds kind of crazy, but yeah, the answer is a surprising yes.
And look, here's the proof, pulled right out of the archives. This isn't just someone's opinion. What you're seeing here is a scan of the actual meeting minutes from the State Highway Commission on August 3, 1954, and it's right there in black and white. Route 70, Lee County, transfer of mileage to the secondary system. It really happened.
So how does something like this even happen? And why was it such a big deal? Well, to get the full picture, you really have to appreciate this road's impressive history. This was not just some random country road.
See, way before it was Route 70, this road was part of the famous Trail of the Lonesome Pine, which was a historic auto trail running all the way from Detroit down to Florida. As far back as 1924, local folks were actively petitioning the state to take it over because it was such a vital link, connecting Jonesville, Virginia down to the Tennessee border. This road had a legacy.
And this timeline just shows you its long and honestly kind of confusing history inside the state system. It got shuffled around with 4 different numbers over 16 years before it finally landed on State Route 70 in 1940. The main takeaway here is that this was a well-established, important state road for decades before its status was suddenly thrown into question.
And that brings us right to the heart of this identity crisis. To really get why this demotion was such a blow, you gotta understand the difference between a primary and a secondary highway in Virginia.
So, think of a primary highway as being in the major leagues. These are the main arteries, the routes that get the state's full attention. They get first dibs on funding, on maintenance, and they get those big, clear, prominent signs. Being a primary route is a really big deal.
A secondary highway, on the other hand, well, that's like being in the minor leagues. It's a local connector. Now, it's still part of the state system, but these roads are a much lower priority. Less funding, less attention for upkeep. It's a huge step down.
This chart really lays it all out. You go from being a main state route to just a local connector. Your funding priority plummets. And for the local community, this might be the most important part. The prestige of the road just tanks. And that is exactly what happened to Route 70.
And you gotta understand, this wasn't some quiet little administrative decision that nobody noticed. The historical record specifically says the change happened over objections. People were not happy about it. Their important primary route, SR 70, was just gone, replaced by this much less significant number, SR 798.
And for 8 long years, that's how it stayed. The road was stuck in this lower status category. It really seemed like its fate was sealed. But the story wasn't over yet.
What came next was just as unusual as the demotion itself, an equally unlikely comeback. This road was about to earn its way back into the state's top tier.
So how did it pull it off? Well, the path back to being a primary route required some serious upgrades. The state actually undertook a major reconstruction of the entire roadway, and, this was critical, a brand new bridge was built to carry the road over the Powell River. The road was literally rebuilt to a higher standard.
And all those improvements paid off. In 1962, 8 years after it was kicked out of the club, the State Highway Commission officially added the road back to the primary system. Virginia Road 70 was reborn. So, after all that drama, the petitions, the renumbering, the demotion, and this triumphant return, what is Virginia Route 70 today?
Today, it's just under 12 miles of road, running from the Tennessee line up to US 58 in Jonesville. I bet most people who drive it have absolutely no idea that this quiet stretch of pavement has such a wild history, a 50-year-old story of losing its identity and then earning it all back.
And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Even the most normal parts of our world, like the roads we drive, can have these fascinating stories just buried in the archives. So maybe the next time you're on the road, ask yourself, what kind of stories are hidden in the pavement right under my wheels?